What up, people? All right, so people are asking me my opinion about this matter. So we're going to watch this video clip and I'll come back and I'll talk to you about what I actually think about it. All right, let's roll.
Protests against immigration raids continue in Los Angeles.
ABC's Alex Stone has the very latest.
For a sixth night, protesters yelling at National Guard troops protecting a federal building in downtown L.A. On Tuesday night, there were over 200 arrests made by police, many for ignoring orders to leave. And it's not only in Los Angeles. Anger over immigration raids have sent protesters into the streets in New York. On Wednesday night, police detained some. And in Baltimore and Chicago, where a car drove through a group of protesters, 17 were arrested. In Boston, hundreds rallied outside of the State House. In Nebraska, dozens arrested in the state's largest raid yet at a meat production plant.
They just came in and said that it was a raid and we had to get everybody out of production.
And back in California, these new images of ICE agents chasing workers through strawberry fields outside the federal building in L.A.
A moment ago, a convoy of federal vehicles came in here, and this crowd began to come around that convoy. Then federal police came out with pepper ball guns, keeping them back.
Not far away, new surveillance video appearing to show federal agents boxing in this car, reportedly using tear gas on a passenger and detaining the driver, leaving a toddler, an infant, and their mother behind.
This is the canister from the tear gas that they threw at her.
The Department of Homeland Security saying in a statement the suspect was wanted for punching an agent. On Wednesday, 30 Southern California mayors came together pleading for the situation to calm. Arturo Flores, a mayor of Huntington Park and a combat veteran, with a message to the military.
Whether they have a document or they don't, you're dealing with Americans. So please remember that.
For a second night, an 8 p.m. to 6 a.m. curfew is in place and off-ramps into downtown L.A. are closed with the goal of putting a stop to the...
Okay, so here's the point, guys. Let me talk to you and give you my opinions about what I'm seeing with the protests, with ICE, and so forth and so forth. All right, so number one, do I agree with how they're going about removing people who are undocumented citizens? No, I don't really agree with it. And let me say up front, I'm not a politician. I don't get into politics, not my thing. And I got a very important point to share with you. So just hang tight, okay? Do I agree with what they're doing? No, I do not. How they're handling it, I don't agree with it, okay? Do I think some of this is necessary? I think some of this is necessary. But do I believe all of this is? I don't think so. But what's more important that I do believe is important? Let me ask you a question. And I want you to hear me good on this. If your doctor, you went to your doctor and the doctor told you that, hey, we found a large tumor on your brain. You got 6 months left to live. What would you be doing with your time? You say, hey, what does this have to do with the protest? Just follow my logic. Just follow the logic. What would you actually be doing with your time? Would you be out there protesting, or what would you be doing with your time as a protester? I'm not saying that protesting is not important, but what would you be doing with your time? Would you still be out there on the streets? Would you still be raising Cain or raising hell about what's going on with the politicians and the situations going on that you don't like? Or what would you be doing? How would you focus your time with the 6 months left to live? What would you be doing? Why am I sharing this? Because I was talking to my students the other day, and I was sharing with them during class that here's my personal opinion that I learned from Jesus, okay? And don't make this a political, let me rephrase that. Don't make this a religious situation, okay? So I don't really care what your faith is. You know, it's not the point of trying to, be religious on this topic. I'm just using this person because everybody knows this person, okay? So here's what I told my students. I told them frankly, I said, when I look at what Jesus did, I said he lived in one of the most highly charged political environments ever. The Romans were the oppressors of the day, and everybody during that time were talking about Rome. Or they were talking about Caesar, or they were talking about Herods, okay, or whatever Jewish religious oppressor leader they had, that the Romans had put in charge over the people of, of Israel at that time. And Jesus came on the scene, and we're reading the Bible, and we're looking at him. And even when he was 12 years old, what was the first thing that we read documented out of his mouth? He said, I must be, watch this, I must be about my, watch, Father's business. And so I asked my students, I said, how many times that you read your Bible or even heard of Jesus, regardless of your religious faith, how many times did you hear about him protesting or holding sessions about the political environment of the day? And everybody thought about it. It took a minute before there was a response. And one of my students said, a couple of them said, no, he didn't. He never did. I said, oh, what can we learn from that? Was it important to the people during that time that the Roman oppressors were there? Yes, of course it was important. Was it important to Jesus? Of course it was important to him. What about the Caesars and the Herods? Yes, it was important, but he didn't spend no time on politics or discussing what they are doing. They are doing this, and hey guys, they doing that, and they doing this, and they doing that, and they. And yet Jesus lived in one of those times and never once focused on what they were doing. Why? And that's what I had to ask myself the question, why didn't you get involved? And in fact, remember he had fed the 5,000 with food, with fish and bread to keep them fed? Okay, everybody was following Jesus. He was the hottest celebrity of the day. Okay, but why was he the hottest celebrity? Well, we find a little discovery if we read the story a little bit further. Palm Sunday, which is Good Friday, which we celebrate to this, watch this, we celebrate to this very day. Good Friday. He rides in on a donkey and all the people are throwing palm branches at his feet. Hail, King of the Jews. Hail, King of the Jews. They were all saying he's the what? King of the Jews. Until they found out that he wasn't here to overthrow the Romans. That's not what his being about his father's business was all about. But they thought it was. And when they realized, oh, this dude ain't here to release us from the oppression of the Romans, of what they are doing, the Romans and the Caesars, they up to something. They doing stuff. They crucify. And when they realized that Jesus wasn't here for all that, what did they do to him too? They brought out a prisoner who committed murder, and they brought out Jesus out of prison. And they said to the people, which one should we release to you? Barabbas, who is a murderer, or Jesus, who is what you said was also the King of the Jews? You said this just a few days ago. You said he was King of the Jews. Do you want us to release your king? Or do you want us to release this murderer? What did they say? Oh no, get rid of that Jesus dude. Man, get that dude up out of here, bro. He ain't nobody. Now he done healed people, fed them, and everything else, preached and helped, encouraged, and yet they said, no, get rid of him. Why? Because he didn't go along with their political views of the day. And they accepted a murderer over Jesus. Isn't that crazy? Same people he helped is the same people they said, oh man, I ain't think about him. Why is that important though? I told my students, think about what we discussed to this very day. Are we even holding discussions about the Romans or the Caesars or the Pharisees and Sadducees, which were the religious people of that day? Do we even talk about that outside of the church environment? No, nobody talks about it. But even our time zones, BC, which stands for before Christ, AD, after his death. So we even set up time around this man who did what? He said, I'm here to focus on my, watch this, purpose in life. And that's what caused me to really think, what is my purpose in life? Because once you focus on your purpose in life is going to dictate where you spend your time in life. I'll repeat that again, baby. When you understand your purpose in life, that purpose is going to dictate your time spent in this life. Because you are going to die. All of us have a limited amount of time to live here, and then we're out of here. So do you want to be known as a person who got caught up in every single whim of political things that went on? Or is there something deeper that you are called to do with your life? I'll give you a question and we'll wrap it up. You go to your doctor, and the doctor tells you, hey, Julie, hey, Sam, unfortunately, I got some bad news for you. And now what happens to the body? The body tenses up. It prepares for, oh my God. And then your doctor tells you, hey, Susie, hey, Sam, I'm sorry to say this, but you only got 6 months to live. We found a huge tumor on your brain, and we really it's inoperable. Inoperable. There's nothing we can do about it. You go home and you ponder on your life and you say what to yourself? Here's the thing you won't be worried about. You will not be worried about what they are doing. And they finna do this and they finna do that and they doing this and they doing that. And we need to be fighting. We need to be doing. Would you really be doing that? Well, I'll say if it is your purpose in life, yeah, you'll go right on out the door and say, oh, I only got 6 months to live. Let me go ahead and focus on these political things. But I suspect you won't. You know why? Because when turmoil hits you personally, it has a way of getting you focused on what really matters in life and what you need to be doing with the remaining days of your life. So then the question comes, what if you only had 6 months left? What would you really be doing? What is your purpose? You understand what I'm saying? What is it that you will focus on? And how would you prepare your family for this? Now, before you get on my case and say, yeah, but those things are important out there. I didn't say they weren't important. Just like during Jesus' day, those were not important. But I would beg the question again. Are we talking about the Romans and what the Caesars and all them, they were doing? Or are we talking about a man who focused on what he was sent here to do? He accomplished his goal and millions of people are following him and nobody's following the Pharisees, Sadducees, or the Romans of the day because guess what? They don't even exist in history no more. The only time we talk about Rome is when we're talking about the Catholic Church. You see what I'm saying? They were the powerhouse of the day, but because he stayed focused, we're still spending time talking about this Jesus man and not those people. Why? Because anybody who's in power, they're always going to be doing something. So if you have handled your business for your purpose in life, and then you got leftover time to get involved in other things, then handle your business. Go do you. But if you haven't even scratched the surface of finding out what is your personal purpose in life, what are you supposed to be doing with your life? If you haven't even stopped to think about that, then why are you getting involved in everything else and running out the clock of your life? And they are still going to be doing new things. President Trump, he got about 3.5 years left. Guess what he's going to be doing? He's going to be going somewhere else, and another politician going to come in doing some of the they stuff that we don't like. And there you go again. So how long are you going to be chasing that turkey? Or is there something better you can do? All right, guys, I left you with something to think about. I'll see you in the next video. Peace and hair grease.